I just want to say that half an hour ago, I was actually just outside crying. What I'm about to share is really, really personal, very emotional for me, and it's also very recent. It's something I'm still coming to deal with. So, I've spent most of my adult life on the edge. I've pushed myself physically and mentally in some of the most challenging mountain environments in the world. And for the most part, it's been through endurance sports. I've been on 5 different national teams in 5 different sports. I started out on the national triathlon team, national duathlon team, Canadian mountain running team, ultra running team, and most recently on the Canadian ski mountaineering team. And as I've moved through these sports, I've moved more and more into the wild with my adventures. Most recently, I've been known for running 100-mile races in some of the most challenging mountain environments in the world. So I've run 100 miles around Mount Fuji. I finished second in a race there. More recently, I've run a race called the Hard Rock 100 in Silverton, Colorado. And it's a beautiful, beautiful part of the world. And these mountain ranges, the race is 100 miles with 66,000 feet of elevation gain and loss. So imagine running from Calgary to Lake Louise while doing 12 haulings, all at an average elevation higher than any mountain in Alberta. Quite a challenging feat. And however, that edge wasn't quite enough for me. So I started taking my fitness closer and closer to the wild. I sort of moved away from races because they felt a little bit contrived. And I took my fitness into higher and higher mountain peaks, trying to push myself, wanting to get closer to the edge. So I would try to run up and down mountains faster than anybody, or that wouldn't be enough for me. I'd run from home to the top of the mountain and back. And then I decided I want to try to do as many mountains in a day as possible. However, on August 31st of last year, I took one step a little too far over the edge. I was doing something in Rogers Pass called the Horseshoe Traverse. I met up with 2 of my friends, 2 of the best mountain runners in the world, Nick Ellison and Dakota Jones from Squamish and from Colorado. And we were looking to basically link up 14 different peaks in Rogers Pass. The fastest previous time for anybody doing this was 3.5 days. Being really cocky and a bit ambitious, we decided we were going to do it in 1 day. Some of these pictures here give you a sense of what the terrain is like. These are from different adventures I've done on the same route with my girlfriend over the last couple of years. So I had a pretty good sense of what we were getting into. However, the day started out beautifully. The weather was perfect. We knew that all conditions were in our favor. When you're going light and fast in the mountains, you want to make sure that conditions are in your favor. We got up at 6 a.m., started running. By 10 a.m., we'd already gone over 4 peaks. We were bang on target. We were rolling. It was a great day. And we got to this tower here called the Saltzer Tower. And the Saltzer Tower is, relative to what we were looking to do, is pretty benign. I actually didn't even know it existed on the route. I didn't even count it as a mountain, which is kind of funny in retrospect. And so we were making our way up here. Nick and Dakota were just in front of me. I was following behind. We were about 200 feet up in that rock band. I'm going to step over here just to show you. We were approximately up in that area over there. And Nick and Dakota were maybe 50 meters above me. I pulled on a rock, and all of a sudden, I heard the rock crack. And I felt it pulling out, and it hit me in the face, and I fell backwards. And I started tumbling from ledge to ledge. And I was falling backwards, and I wasn't panicking. I was fully conscious, but I knew I was going to die. There was no panic because it was just such a certainty in my mind. I was a dead man. And I have a very, very clear image that still makes me shake of seeing the mountains flipped upside down, the horizon behind me, and just being terrified. Well, not terrified. It wasn't. It was just actually, I was like, wow, the mountains are upside down. This is wild. And I tumbled further and further down the mountain, conscious the entire time. And suddenly I found myself down there. This is a picture from the rescue helicopter, face down in a pool of blood, having fallen over 200 feet down a mountain. But I was alive. I pushed myself up, rolled over onto my back, wiggled my toes, and I knew that I'd broken my ankle. I knew I'd broken my hip, and I knew that there was a heck of a lot of blood around me. So I told myself not to panic. I had to stay calm in that moment. And Nick and Dakota came running down towards me, and I had an emergency beacon on me. And Nick, who you can see in the picture there, funny enough, his hair isn't the scariest thing in that photo. Nick, being the incredible mountain athlete that he is, ran up to the mountain behind us and was able to call search and rescue. And within an hour and a half, search and rescue, who were luckily doing a training mission in the area, had flown by, had spotted us, and because the conditions were perfect, they were able to get to us then. And I was long lined out of there, flown to the Rogers Pass Visitor Center, and we have an amazing security network in the mountains here, and it's free, and they do an amazing job. And they put themselves at risk. And they've saved a heck of a lot of people, and they do an incredible job. So, first of all, just a big round of applause for the safety people. And we're lucky to live in a country where there's a safety net like that, but it's free. Like, it didn't cost me anything to do that, so there's no risk in calling them. And so I was flown to the Rogers Pass Visitor Center where there was an air ambulance waiting for me. And I've had a chance to speak to the rescuers, and they said they've never seen somebody who is in as bad a state as I was, who was also still conscious as I was talking to them, and who was also alive. They'd never dealt with that. I was flown to Kamloops Hospital, and I was in surgery for 8.5 hours. I broke my T8 to T11 spine. I broke the top of my hip. You can see the bone has sheared off, so they pinned that. I had severe lacerations across my entire body, but I was alive. And I was somebody who defined my life by movement and moving fast in the mountains, and I got a lot of satisfaction from that, and competition was my life. I defined myself as somebody who's competitive. My edge was trying to beat other people, do things faster than other people, and I was very much aware of it. That edge was going to be gone. It's definitely going to be dulled, and very, very likely going to be gone. And that was really, really hard for me to deal with. The other thing about doing endurance sports and things in the mountains is very often you're by yourself. And I kind of took pride in that. I was very, very self-sufficient. I was not a vulnerable person. I conquered mountains. I didn't see it that way, but that could be the outward impression is, you get to conquer these incredible feats. It's something quite incredible to be able to run 100 miles and be able to run across more mountains than other people in a faster time than other people. And I loved the joy. I loved the movement. I loved how it made me feel to do that. And I wasn't going to be able to do that anymore. But what happened is, so this is the state that I was in when I was in the hospital. And I was just so vulnerable. I was dependent on the nurses and the doctors in the hospital to be kept alive. I was relying on machines to be kept alive, on drugs at that point. What ended up happening, too, is my body shut down due to the trauma and the drugs that I was on. My entire digestive system shut down, and I couldn't take in any food. And my body started eating itself. And I was scared. I was really, really scared. But my family lives around the world. My brother lives in Thailand. My father lives in Nigeria. My mom lives in Victoria. My girlfriend's a medical resident in Calgary. And they all flew to me, and they were all there within a day. So I had this incredible support network around me. So here's this person who's like solitary and independent, all of a sudden reliant on all these people around me in this incredibly vulnerable state. And I'm going to do something that I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do because it's quite emotional. But I kept a journal. And I'm going to read the first journal entry that I wrote in. And this is a week later, after I'd been in hospital for a week. I was too out of it initially to start writing. So here's what I wrote. Monday, September 5th. 1 week ago today, I was getting ready for work, planning one of my most ambitious endurance feats in the mountains to date. Today it's 1:45 a.m. I can't sleep from pain. There's a low humming noise coming from the machines around me. People are snoring and breathing in the slow, shallow breaths of people who cannot sleep due to discomfort. I'm one of those bodies. I'm lying here sore, broken, and bruised. I have metal rods holding my back and hip together. I have drying scabs across my body. I feel a deep stabbing pain with every gentle movement, and my body is swollen with gas and swelling fluids. Strangely, despite the transformation of my body and the bit of fear and trepidation, I'm also feeling a strange sort of simplicity and calm. I feel surrounded by love and caring in a way I haven't felt in years. I'm looking forward to simple pleasures like my next fart, which provides exquisite relief from the pain. I can't wait to see the smiling face of Laura and feel the... Sorry, it's also kind of hard to read because I was on a lot of drugs at the time. And feel the familiar comforting hands of my parents. I can't wait to try and move a few inches and work towards standing, an activity I used to say I couldn't live without. My life has been about movement, and that's been taken away from me. Yet, strangely, I go on. Life goes on. People around me are happy, and by circumstance, I am happy. My family's been brought together by my accident in a way I couldn't have seen in years. It's a feeling I didn't think I could ever get to feel again. I've been forced to face personal demons that I've used as a crutch for far too long, or risk losing people and person I care for most deeply. I've had to face my actions I'm not proud of, and haven't been proud of for far too long. It's a lot to think about, but I have the chance to heal my body and soul. I have a second, some might say third chance to fix myself and build a life I'm proud of. I can't wait. I will not waste it. This is how I plan on doing that. This is how I found myself here. So yeah, it's quite powerful. I mean, you have those thoughts at 2 o'clock in the morning. And one of the things that happened with the accident is my parents, for instance, had been estranged for about 20 years. And they came together, and by the time when I was in hospital, they were out having lunch together, it was incredible. My girlfriend and I, to be honest, I mean, I had a divorce a few years ago, and I used a lot of these mountain adventures as a bit of an escape. I'm sure there was like some deep psychology in running away from things or running towards things. But she took a month out of her medical school and came and supported me. Her mother actually lives in Kamloops, and she grew up in Kamloops. And so my family got to meet her family, and we had this incredible union, and we were all brought together by this, what could have been a horrible tragedy, a horrible accident. But instead, it's just there's so much joy and love and happiness, and I felt myself getting stronger through it. And I was actually in this orthopedic ward with 2 other people. The one guy was in a helicopter crash, and the other person was hit by a semi, so this was one burly room. However, the entire time I was there, neither one of them had a single other visitor. It was just so incredibly sad. I can't imagine how lonely that would be. I mean, even with people all around me, I felt loneliness at times, just from fear and pain. It's a very, very strange feeling. And I didn't have to worry about that. And with that love and support, I remember my physio coming in one day and saying, "Adam, we have to work on your endurance so you can go to the bathroom." The bathroom was a foot away from me. A week ago I could run hundreds of miles, and now, they're telling me I'm going to have to work on my endurance so I can take a single step. But with the love and support of people around me, I got to push my edge. My edge had changed at this point. It had changed quite dramatically, and it changed instantly for me. So I ended up taking my first step. I remember the first time I got to go outside in a wheelchair and feeling this cold breeze across my body, and I started crying. Because being outside and feeling the elements was just so refreshing. Hospitals are not a nice place to be, especially not when you're in a bad state. So getting that air was just so uplifting. And then I also remember the first time I got to go out, and hearing previous speeches really brought this to life. It's terrifying to go out in a wheelchair for the first time. Like every little bump, you really do feel it. And I remember going down a lip and being terrified for my life. And here's somebody who I was used to walking, like the edge of mountains, and I was terrified of a 1-inch lip. So it was a real shift for me. But slowly, with the love and support of people around me, I took my first step. So that picture up in the right-hand corner there, fishing, we were fishing in Banff, and it was one of my first times back out in the mountains. It's actually quite a funny story about that photo. It's a beautiful photo. However, what happened is I took a step in the mud, and I got stuck, and I couldn't move because I couldn't walk. I couldn't stabilize myself. So Laura came and helped walk me out of there. But then a month later, I was out hiking in the mountains again. And then a month and a half later, I was back out ski touring. 2 months later, I went out climbing. And then 3 months later, I ran back up my first mountain and running, and that was in Guatemala. And the other amazing thing that happened during that time is I allowed myself to be vulnerable. And through that vulnerability, it allowed me to, give back to the people I love and just really appreciate, understand just how much they mean to me and how much their support helped me through it. And so Laura and I got engaged a couple months ago, which is beautiful. And I mean, she gave up a month of her medical residency to come support me. My mom moved out from Victoria to come and live with me in Canmore to help me rehabilitate myself. You get these incredible connections with people during that time. And the other thing that happened is I got to slow down. For the first time in my life, since I was about 16, I've been a professional athlete. I was forced to slow down and do things I haven't done before. I took up sketching, which is amazing. So Laura and I would go and sit at the side of the mountains, and you get to look at them in a completely different way. And every time I get out and move, even though I'm not moving with the same kind of efficiency or smoothness that I once did, it's just so wonderful, and I'm also just so appreciative. I understand that, like, it could have been a centimeter different, a slightly different way of landing, and I wouldn't be walking, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing. I would probably still appreciate the mountains, but I still am able to express myself through movement, which is incredible feeling for me. And so what I've realized is that, my edge has changed. I'm still chasing my edge. I'm still pushing it. And I've actually signed up for the Hard Rock 100 again next July. So I'm going to see what I can do. I clearly won't be there to win it like I would have in the past, but it's just to see what I'm actually capable of and see if I can push my edge a little bit and take a few steps. And the other beauty about it is I'm sharing it with the friends. So two of the pacers I'm going to go with are Nick and Dakota, who were with me during that traverse. So I'm going to get to share the experience with them. I'm going to have some of my family there. Laura's going to be down there, and hopefully she'll be able to share some of them with me as well. And so I'm really, really looking forward to that. And so I'm getting to explore the edge, not alone anymore, but with other people. And the other thing I've realized, though, is your edge is so much dependent on where you are in your life. Your edge is constantly evolving. So I can't wait to explore the edge of my wild. Thank you.